welcome to Cooking with the Keefes.
Hello, I'm Jen.
I'm Patrick.
And we're going to be working on an Irish meal for St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, traditional New England Irish meal. Obviously it is March, and we're going to do a little bit of a New England boiled dinner, and Jen's going to make a special Irish soda bread.
Yep. Any other information about your meal that you want to give to start with?
No, we're just going to give a couple little tips and talk about, how to make it a little bit, spice up that New England boiled dinner, or New England corned beef and cabbage. And of course, Jen always makes such great desserts and sweets. But today she's going to make a nice bread that goes really well with this dish. And we just want to show you how we do it, and some really simple tricks so you can make it at home. And as always, our shows are brought to you by the Revere Senior Center. If you go back, this has been about a year. We've been in this this wild, crazy year that we've had, and early on, Deb over at the Senior Center talked about giving people in Revere a little bit more of a reason to stay home and watch a little bit of local TV. So that inspired some cooking classes by myself and Jen, and also some other community members. So they've done a really nice job with arts and crafts and music and you name it. So thank you to the Revere Senior Center, and thank you to Revere TV for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. So I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to get the bread going first. And the recipe that I'm using is actually out of my brand new favorite collection of magazines. It's called Bake From Scratch. And it is this entire issue is about Ireland. It was something that they actually did just before the pandemic happened. So I'm very grateful for these magazines. It kept me very busy while we were in lockdown and showed me lots of new techniques and amazing recipes. And they've all been foolproof. So great magazine to maybe check into if you want to start baking and cooking at home.
I don't get many magazines because I can't read.
I know. Well, I know magazines are a little old school, but I love them and I like having them. So this is an Irish cheddar white soda bread. So we're using a white all-purpose flour, and we are using an Irish cheddar. I picked up this cheddar from Stop and Shop. It's a Kerrygold aged Irish cheddar, and I've already got it pre-shredded and everything. It also has dill in the recipe, which I love dill, and I've been using it a lot more lately in my breads. It really, just the smell of it reminds me of spring and fresh. It's so fresh. So this is really simple and easy. It's a really sticky dough, but don't be scared of it. So in here I've got 3 2/3 cup flour, and we're going to add in 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. And then obviously the soda part, which would be, and there's actually only 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda in this bread. And then we're gonna just give this a little bit of a stir. This will break up any clumps. I whisk it to break up some of the clumps in the flour. And it's just a little bit easier than having to go through and sift it beforehand. This is plenty to break up those lumps.
Could you use a dough cutter as well when you do the wets, or not?
This isn't, no. So this is a little bit different than, I feel like the dough cutter is great for a scone type recipe. Right. This is a very wet dough. Okay. So this is just using buttermilk as the dairy. After this, you're gonna go ahead and dump in your cheddar, which we're gonna actually put in about 2/3 cup. And the rest of it we're gonna put aside to top our bread with.
Oh, yummy.
And then this is chopped fresh dill. This is a bunch of dill right here, in case some of you maybe don't look for it in the grocery store. That's what it looks like, and it smells amazing. The dill, we've got about 1 tablespoon.
And a little dill goes a long way.
Yes.
Especially the fresh. And there really isn't a substitute using dry and fresh. And I know this in savory cooking, the difference is really, really dramatic. So just get the fresh. It's gonna make a world of difference.
It does make a huge difference. I agree. And I know the bunches are kind of big, but you'll find a way. It'll encourage you to use it all and try it in new different ways. Freshly ground black pepper. I'm gonna do about 1/2 teaspoon. And I like freshly ground black pepper. If you don't have it, that's okay, but I just like the spiciness of it.
Right.
And then we're going to Give that a little bit of a stir. I'm stealing Patrick's spoon for
You should
now.
have the spoon.
Sorry, I
There's
just
no
realized
stealing.
I didn't have one. So give that a good mix. Just incorporate all the ingredients. And then really quickly, we're just going to make a little well in the center of your bowl and dump in the buttermilk. This is whole fat buttermilk, and
You have the whole fat Kerrygold and the whole fat buttermilk.
oh yeah, this is a really low cal recipe.
But when you're not using butter, so when I mentioned
Yeah.
the dough cutter, that cuts in the butter, but
Yep.
when you're using more fatty dairy
Buttermilk.
ingredients, it's going to kind of give it
Yep.
that moisture you want.
This is 2 cups. And then you're just gonna go in, and this particular recipe says to use your hands, which I will eventually have to do that. But I'm going to start out with
Get those
a
green
spoon.
nails done, huh?
Yeah. So you're just gonna stir it just until all the dry is incorporated with the wet. You do not want to overwork this dough. It'll make the bread more tough. So you want to, a tender bread. So it just takes a second. Yeah, we don't have like a spatula, do we? I just thought of that.
I think there's something here. I'm getting used to the drawers.
I know, we're still getting used to what we've got, what we don't got, and
doing the shows at our house is, we knew where everything was, but we're getting familiar with
Yes.
the Revere TV studios, and it's an awesome kitchen.
it is amazing. And we're, working with it, and I love it, and I love the space that we have.
Beautiful.
So really quick, the dough here, I don't know if we could maybe get a shot of that. It's a very shaggy dough is a term you might
Shaggy.
come across.
Shaggy.
So it's not super pretty. It's, it's not a smooth dough. So it's not like when you're making any kind of a yeasted bread where you want to get that smoothness and elasticity. You don't want to develop the gluten so much in this recipe. Perfect. Oh my God, look at that. Coming through for me.
I know the Hannah Hostess were here last time, and they did a really nice job. I hope you enjoyed watching that show. But if you got to go back to our first show here at Revere TV Studios, we were the good luck charm for Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Congratulations to the Buccaneers and all you New England fans rooting for the Buccaneers. They won, and I think it was because of us. We will.
Probably, yep, it was all us. So now, generally the recipe will also call for you to dump this out on your counter with some flour. I'm gonna do it right here on the pan to kind of save us some mess and so that Patrick can jump right in after me. So there's this, a little bit of flour.
Don't worry about the mess. We have the Revere
Right?
TV crew coming right behind us cleaning up.
I also floured my hands and I'm gonna just take the spatula and scrape the dough out into this pan, and I like to get every last bit. And can I give you that? Thank you so much. And then we're gonna take this and just shape it a little bit. Again, super wet dough, but it's fine. You're gonna get a little messy, not the end of the world. And we're just gonna sprinkle it with some flour. And you're just gonna kind of smooth it and tuck it under itself. Sorry, we're gonna.
It's like a wet knead, right?
Yeah, so you just wanna shape it. And again, we're not handling it very much. We're just giving it a little shape and patting it out. The more you handle this dough, the tougher it's gonna be. And you don't wanna leave it too thick. You wanna, pat it out. You want about a 10-inch circle. And this will rise due to the baking soda and all of that. And that's it. That's all. And then part of the most important part of making soda bread is some of the traditions that come along with it. Excuse me, while I just clean off some of this dough from my hands. Some of the traditions are that you cut a cross into your bread, and you also have to prick all 4 corners with a knife. So the folklore around that and why the Irish use that, is because the cross is to ward off the devil and to bless your home, and it blesses the bread to make sure it rises. And the pricks in all four corners are to release the fairies who are mischievous and will wreak havoc on your bread. So that's the folklore behind it, but the real actual scientific reason that it works so well is that when you cut the cross into the bread, which I'm going to steal Patrick's knife as well, and I'm gonna flour this because again, it is a sticky dough. You will release a lot of steam and heat that will build up in the bread, and that will help to give you a good rise and give you a hollow sound when the bread is fully baked, and that's a telltale sign that your bread is well made.
Wow, learn something new every day.
Yeah, so again, don't be afraid to use a little bit extra flour to make sure things aren't sticking. You cut the cross, and then with a floured knife, you just, in the center of each of those four corners, you're gonna cut a little slit. And that will help the air escape and the heat, and that will help give you a good rise and help the fairies escape so it doesn't wreak havoc on your bread.
Maybe the fairies will come and clean up after us.
So yeah, maybe the Revere TV fairies. And then last but not least, we're gonna take that reserved cheddar that we shredded and put aside and just sprinkle that over the top. This is going to go into an oven at 450 degrees to start, and you're gonna put that in there for about 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, do not open the oven, there's no need, just lower the temp to 400, which I will do while Patrick is doing his stuff. And bake it for another 15 to 20 minutes, and when we get to that point, we'll stop and I'll bring you over to the oven. I use a thermometer to test the temperature, but if you don't have a food thermometer, there's a way that you can test it to make sure it's done, and I'll show you that later on. So for now, I think I'm done. I'm gonna stick this in the oven and we'll check back in after.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jen. I can't wait to try it. And I know she has a finished one over there, which looks delicious. She made it just a little earlier, and she only hit me twice when I went to go try and take a little piece of it. But so much like the traditional foods that Jen's made, there's definitely some more Irish roots or some roots from Ireland in that dish, where the traditional boiled dinner or the boiled cabbage, corned beef and cabbage, really doesn't have, it doesn't have a ton of roots in Ireland. It's more of a New England tradition. I've had friends say, from Ireland, say, what is this that you're talking about? That's not something that was very traditional in our household. And I'm sure there's some pieces that come too, but it's just it's a really nice meal. A lot of us in New England grew up on this right around St. Patrick's Day, and everyone had a little bit of a different version. I'm sure everyone's mom or dad made something a little bit different. So I wanted to kind of talk about, I guess, the traditional, and then also talk about, some spin-offs. And, so I actually grew up, my mother's Italian, Sicilian, and we had smoked shoulder. So she didn't really make boiled dinner. She made a boiled dinner with smoked shoulder. She did the cabbage, she did the potatoes, she did the carrots, but she didn't do corned beef. She did a ham, smoked shoulder. So it was really different. But today I wanted to show you the corned beef. It's really nice. You can get it in different grocery stores. You can get different types of brands of corned beef, and then you can get the different cuts. There's going to be like a tip end. There's going to be more of a flat corned beef, and it really all depends. The pricing is going to vary. The tips are usually a little bit less expensive than the flats. Flats have a little bit less fat on them. So I did a middle cut here. It's a smaller piece, and of course I already started one. Because it takes about 3 hours. So when usually it comes in a package, and the term corned beef comes from salt. So they would call these large salt kind of chunks corns, and so the corning process is really a brine or almost like a pickle. So you're going to actually kind of cure the meat. That doesn't mean it's fully cooked, but it's going to have that cure to it, so it's going to be preserved. And that's why people corn things in the past, and that's why you had a lot of things that were preserved or smoked or corned or pickled, because it's a preservative. And before refrigeration, that was one way of keeping meat fresh. You didn't have a lot of time, you didn't have a lot of time to just keep meat out. Before you know it, it would get rancid. So everyone gets, when they buy these corned beef, a lot of times it comes with these packets. I'm not really a fan of the packets because I don't know how old the spices are, and spices do get, especially dried spices, they do get, they just lose their effectiveness. They're not as flavorful. So I like to use fresh spices, but you know what's in them, right? So almost all of them have juniper berries, mustard seed, bay leaf. Sometimes they'll have either fennel or they'll have some sort of coriander, maybe even some thyme. And some black pepper. So I'm going to throw the spice kit away. And what I did was I took this corned beef and I rinsed it because it's in a package and it's in all this salty brine. And then you rinse it off and some of the extra excess moisture in there. And I gave it a good rinse, and I cleaned off some of the excess fat. And not all of it. You want to keep some of the fat on there because you want a little fat in the cooking process. Yeah, and it's gonna come off. It's gonna cook down a little bit, but it's gonna give it a little flavor. So this is a smaller one. This was only about 4 pounds, 3-4 pounds, and you can get them bigger, you can get them smaller. It's obviously how many people are you cooking for? How long do you want to have leftovers? It's all what you want to do.
How long do you think leftovers would last?
In our house?
Well, no, we're not typical.
Any leftovers, I always say, you're going to get maybe 3 days. You don't really want to keep much stuff in your refrigerator that's already been prepared for that much longer.
Right.
But it depends. It depends on how it's kept. But this would last in the broth in your refrigerator. This could last probably even a full week. But so you get that. I rinsed that off, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start, and I'm going to put this. This is a smaller pot, so try and use depending on the size that you did, you're going to use the pot that goes with it. So
take this.
Yeah, if you want to help me out, Jen.
Yeah.
If you want to just fill this with water, just about 2/3 of the way up on that peach.
Sure.
And what I'm actually going to do also is I'm going to grab some of my different ingredients. So I'm going to use, as mentioned, I'm going to try and do something a little bit different. Not try, but add a couple different flavors. All right. So I'm going to obviously add the onion. We have the corned beef. We're going to add an onion or two. I like the flavor of the onion that gives in the broth, and I actually like the broth. That's something that I really enjoy. Onion's obviously going to give you a lot of nice flavor. So we're just going to peel an onion, and maybe I'll do 2 onions.
I like onion.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And then we're going to add a couple different ingredients to really give it some flavor. I'm not going to add all the vegetables immediately because the vegetables will turn to mush. If you're cooking this for about 3 hours, where it's a smoked shoulder, you don't really need to cook as long because a smoked shoulder is typically a smoked and cooked ham. Smoked shoulder, a lot of times you're really just reheating it. You can of course cook it down a little bit further and break it down a little bit more, but this corned beef is not cooked at all. It's slightly chemically cooked, but I wouldn't recommend eating it raw. All right, so we're gonna add an onion in there, 1 full onion. We're gonna add 2 cloves of garlic. Oh, I got them right here. And I'm just gonna smash them. All right, and it's okay. They'll break down, and maybe you'll get lucky and get that nice piece of garlic in there. We're gonna add a couple bay leaves. All right, some celery seed. I like celery seed, and I'm gonna use this in another piece later on. Some ground coriander. You could use whole coriander, but again, if you're gonna make the broth, it's one less thing to worry about taking out. Some juniper berries. All right, and some brown sugar. And that's just to kind of balance out some of the saltiness and some of the heat. I'm going to add a little black pepper. Also, some ground mustard, or some whole grain mustard. And I like to put a lot, and I'm going to use this later on as well, because I definitely will eat my corned beef with some whole grain mustard. Some black pepper, and I really don't add any salt, because this has a lot of salt in it, the corned beef. So we have a nice extra stout Guinness. I'm a chef, so we use these things
for everything.
We use these things for everything. And I'm just going to add a little bit of that stout right over the top. And a little more. that's gonna cook really nicely.
Can we drink the rest?
You can. I use thyme and everything. I love thyme. I think you know if you watch my cooking. I was actually gonna say, Jen, could we put thyme in that bread? And you know what?
Probably, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, really, any kind of herbs, I think that you like, any kind of springtime herbs, dill, thyme. I'm trying to think of some other ones that would go well. Chives would probably be so delicious in that bread. I do actually herbed roll that my son loves.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do that one day.
That's a dill salted roll.
Yeah, it's like a garlic salted chive dill roll, and it's really yummy. So that reminds me of this.
So if you can just fill this almost to the top with the water and put that right on that stove right there. So what then I do is I set aside, I have some peeled carrots, and after about, that piece will take almost 3 hours. So after about the first hour is when I'll add the other vegetables. So I took some peeled carrots. I like the big pieces. You can just put it right on the stovetop, and I'll cut them on some weird cuts, you know, so that they have a little bit of different texture to them. All right. Now again, if you want to put this in a slow cooker or something like that, you can put it in the morning, leave it in there, set it properly, and then walk away, and that's fine. The vegetables aren't going to completely disintegrate, but again, so we're going to pretend that this has been in there for about an hour, and we'll add those vegetables, and then we're going to show you how we. All right, and we're going to add some potatoes. I like to use the small potatoes. I like to use small white potatoes, small yellow potatoes, and so. People talk potatoes all the time, and then, you know, potatoes, depending on the size and the age, is going to really determine what the potato texture is going to be like. The older the potato, probably much like us, is we get a little dried out. Our joints get a little dry. We get old. You know,
Speak for yourself.
Right? Well, you know, and so you know the moisture levels in the potato as they get older starts to go down. The starch level starts to go down because a new potato is you're gonna cut it open. You're gonna see they're gonna be moist. They're gonna be that almost that sticky tacky, and those are gonna be great for things for roasted potatoes. You're gonna get that the starch is gonna turn into sugars, and it's gonna get a nice little roasty caramelization. So they're really good for this because you'll cut them open and they'll have that nice boiled potato feel. Where if I put an Idaho potato in there, an older Idaho potato, like or a russet, it would get more that mealy kind of look, and they would kind of break out. Those are great for baked potatoes. Those are great for French fries. Those are great for chips, where you cut them you slice them really thin, or you cut them into French fry shapes, and they're going to crisp up and get crunchy. And again, they're not going to. You want to use a newer potato for something like this.
Yep.
And then one other piece, very traditional in a boiled dinner. People put turnips, or people put parsnips. Yellow turnips depends. So I don't really like turnips very much. They taste like dirt. So, but for the traditionalists, we'll do that. And then the last thing I'll do is I'll add a couple wedges of cabbage. But this is where I wanted to show you a deviation, okay? So I take the cabbage, a whole head. This is a big whole head. Again, got this all right at the grocery store. And I'll keep the center, piece on because this keeps all the ribs together.
The core.
The core, yeah, the centerpiece. I told you I don't read very much. No. Just joking. And what I'll do is I'll add a couple nice wedges of that. And again, everyone loves it. It gives it a good little flavor.
I don't know if you fit in
we'll fit a nice piece.
We'll make it fit.
Oh boy. All right, so that's good. But here's where I want to deviate. If you can turn that on.
This one right here?
This one. You can turn the bolt on high, but this one here, yeah.
Okay.
This is the back one. All right, so there you go. That's right there. And this one's here. We'll turn them both on. So I want to show you a deviation that you're going to probably enjoy. A little bit more than boiled cabbage. All right. So we're going to take this nice big head of cabbage and we're going to shred it up. And some kids, it's like cabbage is like a big Brussels sprout, right? So think about ways that people have Brussels sprouts. Think about ways that people don't like them. But now all of a sudden they're really popular because people figured out how to cook them, okay?
Roasted.
If you just boil Brussels sprouts, they don't taste that great. They're kind of gassy flavored. They have that, very strong, pungent aroma. And that's why, when, you see all the stories, you better eat your Brussels sprouts. They're really good. They have a lot of vitamins and nutrients. Yeah, sure. But if you boil them and they taste like, not very good,
yeah,
you're not going to eat them. So why not make them taste a little bit better? And what else can we do to make something taste better but add some bacon? All right?
Bacon makes everything better.
Yeah, and also it's the caramelization you can add to that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get a nice hot pan. We got about, that was a little bit less than a half a head, and it depends on how much you want to do. That pan's getting hot, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, I just wanted to.
We're gonna take a couple strips of bacon and just gonna cut them really small. Doesn't have to be too fancy, because the bacon is gonna make the cabbage taste a little bit better. So we're just gonna add this to the pan to try and render off that bacon.
It's not a sizzle.
Good. We want the sizzle. All right.
Do you want me to stir this while you?
The bacon?
Yeah.
Yeah, let it brown up a little bit.
Okay.
We're gonna add a little bit of chopped garlic. Doesn't have to be too small. I'm okay with that. Just a couple sprigs of chopped garlic. We're gonna move this over here. And that bacon will give off some fat, but you're gonna probably need a little bit more. Okay. Back one high, beautiful, beautiful. And then one last piece is some shallots. And if you notice, in a lot of my cooking, I like shallots as well. Mm-hmm. Okay. They're a garlicky onion, and they give a lot of nice flavor. They're a little bit sweeter than an onion, but they have that nice garlickiness that you like. So I enjoy using them. And it's like anything. Use the flavors that you like. In your boiled dinner, if you want to add something else. I mean, I think, I don't know, my mom doesn't live in Revere. She lives in Everett. But, if she watches this show, I think she likes to add pepperoni to her boiled dinner. And add a little bit of different flavor. And we would like that big chunk
of spice.
Yeah, we would like that big chunk of pepperoni in there. And it was really nice. It was like, everyone got a nice chunk of pepperoni in their bowl. And it was really good, really good. So we got I got a little carried away. I saw the Guinness, I got excited. If you didn't notice, so obviously we're celebrating the month of March. We're celebrating St. Patrick's Day. We got this cool shamrocks behind us and 4-leaf clovers. And then Jen, of course, is wearing green. I don't have a lot of green clothes. I don't know.
Well,
you
have your nice little pin though.
I have to update my wardrobe, but I did. I got the most Irish thing that I could find, and it says "Kiss Me, I'm Irish." So
I have the most Irish thing I could find too.
And Jen, we have an Irish last name, so
yeah.
So and then one last piece is you can stir that around a little bit. Look at that, it smells good, right? And it's gonna add some thyme sprigs, and we can pick those out later. Woo! So, right? How's that? That smells good.
The thyme in there smells amazing.
Right.
All right, now what?
And this is gonna let's make cabbage fun again, right? You can make it with coleslaw, you can braise it, you can stuff it, and then of course that bacon, once that bacon starts to get a little crispy, we're gonna add that cabbage, and we'll stir that around.
And this will kind of bake down a little bit, right?
Oh, this is definitely this is gonna cook down. I mean, the idea, and you're gonna continue with your bread.
Yeah.
The idea is that this will get some caramelization. All right, and I'm going to also add a little bit of vinegar to it. So this is salt. Yes, I'll salt the cabbage.
Okay. Just on a note, I just reduced the oven to 400, and we'll check on that in like another 10-15 minutes.
And then so we're going to add a little bit of celery seed. So we had some celery seed. Celery seed and cabbage go hand in hand. All right. And then we're going to add just a touch of sugar in a second. I'm going to use sherry vinegar to kind of cook down the cabbage a little bit. It's going to give it some more bite. But then I'm going to use a little bit of that sugar, just a little bit, to balance that out. And then once we're done with that, we're going to finish up the bread, and we'll show you how to bring it all together. You can come on over here. How's the breads coming, by the way?
What is it?
How are your breads?
The bread's coming good. It needs about another, like I said, 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay.
I do have the finished one over there, so we can take a look at that if you want to see it.
No, keep going.
And then,
some pepper.
Yes, pepper, important. So Do we want to show the completed bread?
No, we're not there
Okay.
yet.
Not quite there.
We're not there yet. We're gonna cook down this cabbage a little bit more. Some pepper. You know, so some other things that you could add to this is you could add even that dill maybe if you really like it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like dill, but you see that cooking down, smells good. We're gonna keep raising that down, and then
Yep.
when we plate it, I'll show you. So again, when we're doing the boiled dinner, so we have of course, through the magic of TV, we have a fully finished boiled dinner
Yeah.
that we did just a little earlier,
It smells awesome.
right? And I just want to show you kind of where we're at and how you can check it.
Do you want to come over here?
As mentioned, the cabbage I'll add in the later stages of the dinner, so it doesn't overcook and break down. You don't want it to be too soft. And then you got the carrots, you got the potatoes, and then to check the cabbage, to check the
Corned beef.
the corned beef, I'll use a fork or a spoon. I'm sorry, or
Or a knife.
a knife, and I'll just check it. You know, and it's gonna get in there pretty good, and you can feel how tender it is. Okay, so look at that. That looks good. And then the last thing you want to do is you want to just let it rest. Let it rest. And the same thing with the carrots. They're gonna go through nice and easy. They're not too mushy. I add those in on like the second half of the cooking. See how quickly they go in? All right.
Yep.
And the carrots are really one of my favorite parts of.
They're
the
so
dish.
sweet.
Right.
Very yummy. All right. What are we doing
How are we
with
doing
this?
over here?
It's good. It's starting to caramelize a little bit. and
Good.
Brown up.
Just get a little bit more color,
Yep.
and then we're gonna add just a pinch of that sherry vinegar.
I think this is something that I had to learn because I do bake. I don't cook a lot, but can't be afraid of some color. I feel like that caramelization adds a lot of flavor,
Makes
and
everything.
some people are so afraid of burning something or having that bitter taste that they don't let the food go far enough. You know.
So sherry vinegar, it's got definitely has some bite to it, and some people like it. You know, I love sherry vinegar. I don't use unbelievable amounts of it because a little of this goes a long way. It's very pungent if you smelled it, but it's really good. It's.
Pat loves vinegar.
I love all vinegar. All right, I'm just gonna add a little bit of that sherry vinegar, just a little bit. All right.
And that'll deglaze the pan a little bit
Yep.
too. And
If you didn't want to use that, you can use a little white wine. White wine will work just fine. And then just a little bit of that sugar. All right? Not much at all. So I'm going to grab that boiled dinner and bring it over here to the front.
Oop, let me get out of the way.
Sorry. You can turn off that burner, honey.
Okay.
So we're going to let that rest just a second. As mentioned, you don't want to cut it. You don't want to cut into it too quickly because it's gonna bring back in when you let it rest. It's gonna bring back in some of the moisture, and so you see everything that's in there. You got the potatoes, you got the turnips, and you can check it for the seasoning. Got those juniper berries floating around.
Should I turn this down a little?
You can turn it off actually with this. All right.
All right.
So let's taste it just to make sure the flavors are good.
Actually gonna scooch this over here so it's not so hot.
Jen, what do you think here?
Oh gosh. Ooh, really good.
Yep. Nice.
Really hot. But I'm a big baby.
No.
But it's really yummy.
I think we could use a little bit more. I think we could use a little bit more pepper. And and then we'll pull that pork out. How's the bread, honey?
Bread's coming along. It only needs a few more minutes, I think.
Is it fully? You need to be fully cooked?
What do you mean?
You have to change anything to it or no?
No, it's just finishes in the oven.
Oh.
It comes out. You let it. You are supposed
That's
to
easy.
It's very, very easy.
Even I can figure this out.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you asking questions about? It's baking. So you'll take it out. You'll let it cool. Directions say to let it rest for about 30 minutes if you can wait that long. But you do want to serve it a little warm. I think it's best served really fresh. but we can use the one that's already finished.
No, we want to see that. Well, we will use that one, but
yeah.
we want to see this.
We're
we want to see this
it.
come to fruition.
Which this one, I just don't want to take it out too soon. But something that I'll go over now is you can test with a kitchen thermometer, and right in the center of the bread, it should be about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when you'll know it's baked through. Or if you don't have a kitchen thermometer, don't have the patience or time, just when you take it out, you can lift it up from the parchment and just kind of wrap on the bottom of the bread, and it has this really nice hollow sound that will let you know that it's cooked through and risen and ready to go.
Awesome. So we're going to show some different plating techniques. Presentation is everything, as you know, especially in the restaurant business. At home, we stick that pot goes right on the table.
Yes, which I think is just a nice presentation all by itself.
Of course it is, and everyone's going to dig right in.
Yeah.
So here is our little 4-leaf clovers, I guess. This is just some chopped parsley, just to give it some color. And then, so we got that.
You eat with your eyes.
Of course. So, we got some potatoes. We want to make a nice little mix. Some carrot here. Broth in the middle.
No, in the broth, I feel like is that the juniper berry I was tasting?
Probably the juniper berry, the thyme.
Yep.
That definitely is going to give it a little bit of that essence.
It's not super salty. It's a really mild broth, but it's really good. Like, I think maybe dipping your soda bread in there would be really good.
It should be perfect. And there's the turnip. The turnip that no one will probably eat, but you gotta put it on there.
Well, we know Pat won't be eating it. I don't even know if I've actually ever had a turnip.
I'll eat the turnip, and I do enjoy turnips, but not that much. All right, and we'll give another carrot. I like the carrots. My favorite part. What about you?
I love the carrots and the potatoes and the onions.
All right. So we got this, and just like you get in the deli. Nice corned beef. We're going to slice it. You want to slice it thin against the grain. You got the grain running that way, so you want to run against the grain. And you see, look how good that looks nice.
Looks perfect.
And this was pretty inexpensive, at the grocery store. As you know, we shop primarily at either Market Basket or Stop and Shop in the Riviera area, and. A little parsley, and then I always put mustard on mine. So that's one. That's the traditional, right? Boiled dinner, wonderful. And then this is for those that don't like that boiled cabbage. You're gonna probably really enjoy this.
Is this one mine?
Yeah, this is gonna be both of ours, right?
I'll fight you for it.
You gotta have both. So this is that braised cabbage, a little more of a roast on it. Pull those out. You can turn that top oven off as well. And then we'll just pluck out some of the nice ingredients. Okay? Couple potatoes. Do we have to put a piece of turnip on there?
No, I don't need a turnip. I don't need one. Right. I'm good. If I never have a turnip, I'm good. But
I can hear Andrew in the back saying,
I know.
Save me some turnip. All right. And then you got to have a little broth.
Yes.
Okay. So you can't not have any broth. So I'm going to pour it right over the meat. Just kind of coat the bottom of the bowl.
It's like an Irish Cioppino.
Right? This one we're going to put
some thyme.
A little thyme garnish.
My favorite.
And of course,
I'm super tempted to check on this bread.
You're still going to get the mustard.
Let me get my thermometer.
Jen, why don't you cut up a piece of bread and serve it with our dish?
We'll do that, and then we'll check on the bread.
Yeah.
Let's see. And actually, another great thing with when you score your bread at the beginning is it's supposed to make it much more easy to just kind of break apart into 4 corners.
And it's perfect. There's 4 pieces. All for me.
Yep. And you just, that way, it's easy to break apart.
That smells unbelievable.
It looks really nice and moist in the middle. There we go. So this is a rustic bread. This is rustic food. So you don't really need to make it super pretty. You know, that's kind of the niceness.
Give me like a prison break and throw it on top of it?
Exactly. So here, now we'll do a nice cut.
Too fancy.
Too fancy, right? You gotta break it apart. So now we can serve it with some bread alongside it. I'll put a piece on here.
I don't know, that one has to have the prison cut.
The prison cut? Put something more rustic. And then here, now you have to try a piece. Is it good? Oh, it's actually really good. That cheese makes it.
So, you know, Irish soda bread, people really like it. And it's great because you can add so many different things to it. But that's going to go perfect as you kind of dunk it in the broth. You may even need a little bit more broth. But let's see, how's it coming?
I'm going to find out right now.
This is exciting.
It looks really pretty.
Wow. Wow.
I love that.
This one is coming home with us.
So now I just stick the thermometer right in the center here. We are at over 200 degrees, so we're perfect. And then that other thing that I was talking about with picking it up, I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it.
Good.
You want to bring it over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me move this. Oh, there we go. So another way to test it without using your thermometer and to know that it's done, let's hope it actually does it, because that would be embarrassing.
Good.
I'm just gonna lift it up. Ooh. And give it like a little wrap, like it
Hold on,
sounds kind of.
let me get the mic near
I
there.
know, right?
Well, it's like a hollow.
Sounds like a hollow sound. That way you know that everything's kind of baked and done and ready to go. And you can see it has that nice rise, and yeah, it'll settle a little bit, but that cheese all melted on top, and it's really kind of tangy and aged. It's really yummy.
Awesome.
I think we're good.
I mean, this is everything, except for we're going to probably sit down and eat.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we really hope you enjoyed. And if you have any questions, you know, certainly feel free to send us an email, or you can get a hold of us through Revere TV, or if you know us, you can certainly pick up the phone and give us a call.
Recipes, I think, will be posted just like they were last time. Again, you could reach out to us directly. I'm going to do a little shout out for a little spin-off of Cooking with the Keefes. We're going to do some baking as well. Myself.
With the other Keefes. Maybe
my daughter, if I can get her to come here. If not, it might just be me. But we'll do some baking and some desserts, and we're hoping maybe Mother's Day time we'll be able to start showing you some sweets and showing you how to complete the whole meal. Right, and then we're already in plans for our next show. We're going to take it on the road. Obviously, we want you to enjoy your St. Patrick's Day and have a really good, safe time. But we're looking at Easter. We're looking at traditional Easter traditions around Revere. Pizzagana comes to mind, and I know there's a few people in Revere that do it really well. So we're going to probably take the show on the road, or do a couple different segments and bring them together to see some of the best Pizzagana in Revere, some of the best bakeries that are going to offer you some really cool and festive sweets and treats. So we really hope you enjoyed today. As mentioned, we've been in this for about a year, but man, we're starting to feel good. Things are starting to look really good. There's a light, I feel like, at the end of this very long, dark tunnel. Yep. So thank you to Revere TV. Thank you to the Revere Senior Center. Thank you to Deb. And thank you to all of you. Thank you for at home watching us. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.